We're talking about the safety of raw milk. So please have a seat. And okay, I'm supposed to yell at you and tell you to sit down. Please sit down. And while you're sitting down, since I have the stage here, I'd like to make a few comments about the last panel. My parents have land in Northern California, and we have photographs of that land from 1890. And it's flat land with hills behind it. There is not a tree or a bush on those hills in the 1890 photographs. And we all know the reason. Because the Indians cut all those trees and bush down for fire. They needed fuel. And the population had increased to the point where it was overcoming the vegetation. Now, in photographs today, those hills are completely covered with trees. And there's only one reason for it. It's because they're not being cut down. We don't need those trees for fire or for fuel. And so forth. If you looked at the United States in 1900 from the satellite, should there have been one, you would have seen that the entire East Coast was completely denuded of trees. We cut practically every tree down. You go into any park today, how old are the trees? They're not more than 100 years old. Why? Because we needed the land to grow hay to feed horses. And we also use trees for warmth, for burning for warmth. Okay? So today we have, lots more than 12% more tree coverage. I think this whole notion about having more trees and more plants has to do with the fact that we have cars and fossil fuels, and we don't need to grow hay for horses or cut down trees for warmth. So I think we're missing a point here. I also wanted to say something about science by consensus. I'm going to talk about raw milk today, the safety of raw milk. If you interviewed 1,000 public health officials, 999 would say that raw milk is dangerous and you should never touch it. So much for science by consensus. Okay, I'm not saying which argument is right, but to say something is right because a lot of people say it's right is not the reason something is right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so a campaign for real milk, and I am just going to repeat myself a little bit from last night. How many of you were not here last night? Okay, so there are a few of you. I want to define what we mean by real milk. We don't call this a campaign for raw milk because that's only part of it. Real milk is, first of all, milk with all of the fat in it. That's how nature designed milk. We talked last night about some of the health benefits of the fat, but the fat also contributes to the safety of the milk. Please do not go out and drink raw skim milk. We do not recommend it. If you're drinking skim milk, you don't understand the whole picture of why we need the animal fats. Secondly, real milk comes from cows eating the food they're designed to eat, which is pasture, which is grass. The cow is an amazing machine containing 4 stomachs, 4 fermentation tanks basically, that can digest grass. And humans cannot digest grass, most animals cannot digest grass, but cows are very good at digesting grass. Love some water if someone would do that for me. And that's what they are designed to eat. And once you start feeding cows a lot of something else, I'm not saying that cows can't have a little bit of grain. They like things like pumpkins that are high in pectin. And these are things they would get in a natural forage anyway. But they're basically designed to digest and process grass and turn it into healthy meat and milk and fat. And finally, it is unprocessed. This is the most controversial part. That means it hasn't been heated, it hasn't been pasteurized, ultra-pasteurized, or gone through any of the processes that happen to our milk today. This whole presentation is divided into 4 topics. Is real milk safe? Is real milk more nutritious? Is milk from pastured cows more nutritious? And is real milk better for farmers? And we looked at numbers 2, 3, and 4 last night. We're going to look at number 1 today. Okay, that's the most controversial part. So, what do our public health officials say about real, that is, raw milk? John Sheehan, director of the Division of Dairy and Egg Safety at FDA, says drinking raw milk or eating raw milk products is like playing Russian roulette with your health. Interesting that he says raw milk products. Now, raw cheese is available, legal everywhere, and yet we have these dinosaurs in FDA telling you that even raw cheese is going to be dangerous for your health. So let us consider raw milk. Let us look at a calf born in the mud and the muck, and the first thing the calf does is get up and suck on its mother's manure-covered teat. How in the world can that calf survive in such a dangerous, filthy environment? What a terrible system this mother's milk thing is. How can any mammal survive with such a terrible system that nature has designed? Well, it's because raw milk is actually an amazing substance. It's much more than just a combination of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. It is an amazing mix of multiple natural, redundant systems of bioactive components that can reduce or eliminate populations of pathogenic bacteria. At the same time, these systems kickstart the infant's immune system, which has no immune system at the beginning, and support the growth of good bacteria. It actually knows the difference between the good and the bad bacteria. Next. So I'm going to go through some of these systems, and just to give you the full picture, we won't linger on these slides, but the first two are kind of the structure of this whole system, and that's lactoperoxidase and lactoferrin. Both of these are enzymes found in milk. That's why they start with the word lacto. So lactoperoxidase uses small amounts of hydrogen peroxide, which are secreted by other components in the milk, and free radicals. Uses these things to seek out and destroy bad bacteria, but not the good bacteria. Lactoperoxidase is found in all mammalian secretions, breast milk, tears, saliva. When you cut yourself and you instinctively go to suck on that cut. That's very wise because there's lactoperoxidase in there and it's antimicrobial. The levels in animal milk are much higher than they are in human milk, and that's for a reason. The animals tend to be dirtier and be in manure and so forth. And so nature puts more in the milk of cows and goats and so forth than it does into human milk. So strong an antimicrobial system is lactoperoxidase that other countries are looking into using it instead of pasteurization to ensure the safety of commercial milk. And they also are looking into using it for preserving other foods. All right, lactoferrin is plentiful in raw milk. Its effectiveness is greatly reduced by pasteurization. Same thing with lactoperoxidase. Now, the way lactoferrin works is it grabs hold of iron, and it steals the iron away from pathogens. Pathogens love iron, especially tuberculosis, candida. These are highly iron-loving pathogens. Not only does it take the iron away from the pathogens, but then it acts to make sure that the iron is transported across the gut wall. So it has a twofold role of taking iron away from pathogens, and that helps destroy the pathogens, and ensuring that the infant absorbs all the iron in milk. And there isn't a lot of iron in milk, but infants do not get anemic when they're on raw milk. We talked about this last night because of the lactoferrin. By the way, this is why you don't want to exclusively breastfeed after 6 months, because babies start to really need more iron after 6 months. They've used up all the extra iron in the cord blood. And by 6 months, if you don't start adding extra foods, babies, even in spite of the lactoferrin, can develop anemia. And in traditional cultures, the first foods were usually liver. And the liver, of course, is a very